أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. On one hand, I'm really happy to be here and to meet brothers that I haven't seen for many, many years. So many trials and tribulations that we all went through since COVID. There are a lot of people who are not here, from the people we used to know across the globe, and also to meet brothers who I've never met before. The possibility and the excitement of moving forward, that challenge is exciting. It's something that makes me happy personally. I'm a person who the glass is half full, positive. But at the same time, I can't help but to share with you brothers my sadness at the fact that Palestinians are still struggling. Palestinians are still being dealt with as if they are subhuman. And as the Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه من الخير. None of you truly believes you love for your brother what you love for yourself. He told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, مثل المؤمنين في توادهم وتراحمهم وتلاطفهم كمثل الجسد. The believers in their love for each other, their mercy for each other, their sympathy, empathy for one another is like one single body. If part of your body is suffering, is hurting, you have the fever, you can't go to sleep, then the whole body is going to be affected. So we are not true, real Muslims until we love for our brothers what we love for ourselves. So this situation, it makes me personally disturbed. I have to psychologically try to manage my mind since this thing started. But nonetheless, it is what it is. And we make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal here that He helps those people and He helps our ummah around the globe. You put your finger on the Muslim world, on the map, the Arab world, the Muslim world, put your finger on the map, you pick it up, and your fingers dripping blood. And that's despite the fact that Allah mentioned about this ummah, kuntum khayra ummatan ukhrijat linnas. This is the best ummah that Allah brought forth for people. So how are we the best ummah? And everywhere you look, we have all these problems. Many of us are in this country because there are more opportunities here for us than there are in our own countries. I don't want anybody to misunderstand me because you'll hear this from me. I don't apologize and I don't bite my tongue. We're not second class, third class citizens. We're first class citizens. I'm not telling anybody that you have to go back to where you come from. Go back there. What I'm saying is our children have lost their language, their culture. I asked one of the brothers here today, where you from? And he said, I'm from here. I understand what he's saying. But if I knew exactly where I was from in Africa, and I said, someone asked my boy upstairs, the Black Panther, Shaybatul Hamd, and they said to him, where you from? I want my son to first say where his ajdad come from. But I understand what the young brother was saying. Anyway, we have a lot to deal with today, a lot we want to talk about today. So I think today we have 2 lectures. And I'm going to choose the first lecture to talk about from the 2 that were mentioned. And that is this very important advice to myself, my family, and all of you. And that is the importance of entering into Islam wholeheartedly and being a real Muslim, and not being a Muslim who cherry picks and we take what we like and what we want from the religion. To enter into Islam wholeheartedly. The Yahud and the Nasara, they cherry pick from their religion. They cherry pick from their religion. And the Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لَتَتَّبِعُنَّ سُنَنًا مِنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ. You're going to follow the people who went before you, a handspan by a handspan, and an arm span by an arm span. If they go into the lizard's hole, you're going to do it too. Everything that they did and that they do, it's going to happen to our ummah. Everything. The ikhtilaf, having ghulu in the religion, being, just all of the issues. Everything that they have to deal with, like my mother, my aunties, everybody who's back in New Jersey right now, celebrating the birth of their God, Za'am. And just like they went overboard in Isa ibn Maryam, there are those from us who are going to go overboard in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we don't want to cherry pick in our religion. We don't want to do that. I want to first start off by saying, concerning this particular issue, there are no less than 30 ayats from the Quran that say the same thing, challenging the Muslim to be a real Muslim. To be a real Muslim under every circumstance. Over 30 ayat. 30. And for your information, if you didn't know, repetition in the Quran, repetition in the Sunnah. There are 114 surahs of the Quran. 113 of them start off with the Basmala. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. That's repetition. Surah Al-Fatiha is repeated. The 7 often repeated verses. The greatest surah of the Quran. You read it for every prayer. Sunnah prayer, wajib prayer, Eid prayer, Jum'ah prayer. Every prayer, istikhara, every prayer, janazah prayer, even if there's no rak'ah in it, no sajda. It's the greatest surah, and you repeat it all the time. That's why you never forget it. So repetition in the Quran and the Sunnah, one of the benefits of it is to show that thing is important. That thing is important, so pay attention to it. There are over 30 ayat, 30. They say the same thing in different ways. Be a serious Muslim. Be a real Muslim. And don't cherry pick. From them, very quickly, is that Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَنْ يَكُونَ لَهُمَ الْخِيرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. It is not befitting for a true believing man, for a true believing woman, if Allah or His Messenger decides something, for them to have any say-so. So just as an example, with big men here, big boys, I'm not here to fight anybody, that's not my style. But we have to take the gloves off sometimes. These ayat were revealed on the companions, challenging them. And this is why the companions, ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, they're the blueprint for success. What was Islam doing their time is Islam for us now. What wasn't Islam during their time is not Islam right now. And they're human beings. They weren't from the Malaika. Some of them were racist. Some of them were murderers. Some of them did this. Some of them did that. But when the Prophet came, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they showed us how to submit and how to be Muslims. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. All we have to do is learn what they did, and we're going to be okay. So this ayah said, it's not befitting for a believing man or a believing woman if Allah or His Messenger decides something to have any say-so. For an example, I'm a young person, for an example, and I see the way the non-Muslim youngsters are wearing their hair. I'm African American. I'm passionate about being African American. I'm not Arab. I'm not Asian. I'm not Pakistani. I don't put any. My people have good things. My people have bad things. I'm proud to be African American. My children, I want them to identify with our people, even the non-Muslims. But those bad things about my people, I don't want my children being like that. I don't want my children growing their hair the way African Americans grow their hair. I don't want them dressing the way some of them dress. I don't want them speaking the way some of them speak. That's the same thing for everybody here. So your hair in Islam, Allah spoke about your hair. Rasulullah spoke about your hair. You shouldn't have anything to say about it. And we can go examples. The woman, the hijab. I'm not here to beat anybody up. I'm just saying about our religion. Those Arabs, during the time of Rasulullah and before, those women sometimes didn't dress right. They would even go around the Kaaba. They would go around the Kaaba without any clothes, making Toba naked. But then Islam came, and Allah Ta'ala told them, وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا. The believing woman should not let anything from her beauty be exposed except what must naturally appear, meaning her face and her hands. So I know the sister may have some issues. She's struggling, weak iman. I'm just giving you an example. I'm not pointing anyone out. I'm giving an example. And everybody here has some example, without any exception. This is my first time meeting some of you. I don't even know your name. Everybody here is dealing with issues, not an issue. Issues where our desires want something and Islam is saying do something else. Everybody. Everybody without any exception. So from those statements, and there are many. I don't want to do all of them. I just want to do one ayah and 2 or 3 other ayah, and that's it. وَمَا كَانَ قَوْلَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذَا دُعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ لِيَحْكُمَ بَيْنَهُمْ إِلَّا أَن يَقُولُوا سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. The statement of the true believers, the true Muslim, the true believer, when he is encouraged, come to Allah and His Messenger, so that Allah and His Messenger will judge in this case. The believer says, okay, here I am. And then he gets the dalil. Allah said this. Rasulullah, he said, I hear and I obey. Allah said, those are the ones who are truthful. They're the real believers. The real believers. So the man is having a dispute with his wife, and she has a dispute with the husband. They go to a competent person. He sits and he listens to the situation. And he judges and he says, brother, you are wrong. She's your ex-wife, but you have to pay her for those children. But he says, I don't want to pay, because that's his struggle. That's his struggle. That's his desire. You have to pay, man. That's the example. Many ayat. Many ayat. There are those people who, if the ruling is for them, they'll come. If the ruling is not for them, they won't come. And there are many examples, many complaints. There are many. Another one of those ayat, and there are many, that Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ اتَّبِعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ قَالُوا بَلْ نَتَّبِعُ مَا أَلْفَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا أَوْلَوْ كَانَ آبَاؤُهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ شَيْئًا وَلَا يَهْتَدُونَ. When it said to one of them, come to what Allah has revealed, the Quran and the Sunnah, the truth. Come to the truth. That it's not only the truth, but يا أيها الذين آمنوا استجيبوا لله والرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم. Oh, you believe. Answer the call of Allah and His Messenger when they call you to that which will give you life. So if it said to them, come to what Allah revealed, they say, no, we're going to do what we found our fathers doing. Allah said, although their fathers, they didn't know what they were doing, they had no aql, they had no knowledge, nor were they guided. That was the answer of Quraysh when Rasulullah came, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and told them, don't worship these fake gods. Don't worship these idols. Wood, iron, don't worship this stuff. Worship Allah, Khana. They said, no, we didn't find our fathers doing that. I say, Ma, Ummi, come on, be a Muslim. Stop worshiping this white picture of God, Jesus Christ, that they manufacture. She's saying, no, 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 no. I'm going to follow what I found my fathers doing. So the Muslims today, wherever you go, we have that struggle with the culture as opposed to Islam. And I just give you a simple example. And again, I'm not fighting, man. I'm just being straight with you because these ayat came on the Prophet. It's important to have wisdom, to be easy. I understand that. But we have to call a spade a spade. It is what it is. I'm giving these examples, not speaking down at you. I'm speaking to you and to myself. To you and to myself. Over there in the UK, there are a lot of cultural practices that make you really scratch your head. Like, when I went to the UK over 20 years ago, I was shocked to meet a group of Muslims, and I'm sure some of you can relate to this. Whenever the mu'adhin says in the adhan, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, the people go, they kiss their things. When I saw the people doing that, I said, why are you guys doing that? They said, if you do this at the adhan, you won't go blind. I said, hey, don't you know Rasulullah had a mu'adhin? His name was Ibn Maktoum, and he was blind. He used to say that all the time, and he was from the awliya of Allah. Abasa wa tawalla and ja'aka al-a'ma. He was blind. That's khurafat, man. And then the person getting mad. Why? Because you're going against what his father taught him. He's going against the religion he inherited from his dad. The Mawlid from the ayat, these 30 ayat, is what Allah Azza wa Jalla told the people, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبُكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ. Tell them, Muhammad, if you people truly love Allah, then follow me, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Follow me, and Allah will love you back, and will forgive you for your sins. So the Mawlid, true love is in following the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those companions. And the way they showed their love for him, if this Mawlid was from the religion, wallahi, they would have beat us to it. They would have beat us to it. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if someone comes and says there's no Mawlid, the people get mad at you. Every year, I remember I used to do a khutbah. It was the khutbah of the munasabat. Whenever the Mawlid comes around, I have to do a khutbah. 500 pounds for anyone who can bring dalil of this Mawlid. The next year, 500 pounds, it's 1,000. Next year, and we're up to 13,000 pounds now for 2 minutes of work. And I would always say that in the khutbah. All you have to do is come. In less than 1 minute, you can make 1,000 pounds. That's a good job, man. That is a good job. If you're making $1,000 in 1 minute. So if we have any shabab, that's what we want you to do. We want you to shoot really high. Have ulu al-himma. Don't get a job at Burger King flipping hamburgers. And it's not, Burger King is haram. The meat is not halal. That's not the point. The point is, if you can get a job paying $1,000 an hour, that's a good job. So can you imagine if someone challenged you and said, bring me the proof of this if it's from the religion? Hatu burhanukum. In kuntum sadiqin. So there are many ayat and many issues. But I want to deal with these ayat. But before I do, I got to make this really clear for you brothers and you sisters. So listen very clearly. In no way am I sitting here saying we're going to be perfect people. No way. What I'm saying is we're going to make mistakes. Everybody here. The prophets and messengers made mistakes and they made sins. There is a surah in the Quran called Surah Al-Fath, where Allah gave Rasulullah the conquest of Mecca, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in the beginning of the surah, Allah said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لِيَغْفِرَ لَكَ اللَّهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِكَ وَمَا تَأَخَّرَ. So that Allah will forgive you, Ya Muhammad, from your sins, your mistakes that you did in the past and the ones you're going to do in the future. So the ayat, it supports and shows he made mistakes, he made sins. On the strength of him being a human being. Kullu bani Adam خطائين خطاؤون وخير خطائين التوابون. All of Adam's children make sins, all of them. And the best of them are those who make tawbah. So the prophets and the messengers are human beings. While they're prophets and while they're messengers, they make mistakes, but they make minor mistakes. They don't make the kaba'ir. As non-prophets and messengers, it's possible they can make major mistakes, like Musa. What was the mistake Musa made before he was a Nabi, a Rasul? What mistake he made? He what? He punched that man in the face and killed that man. Punched that man in his face and killed that man. And that was a mu'akhadha that the people had against Musa. But he did that when he was not a Nabi or Rasul. But once he's a Nabi and a Rasul, they don't make major sins. None of them. And also after they make the mistake, they make tawbah right away. That's a talk for another day. My point is, I am not here saying you can't make mistakes, because it's impossible. It's mustahil. We don't even say it's aziz. It's different. It's mustahil. Can't happen. Allah said in the Quran, for an example, لو يؤاخذ الله الناس بظلمهم ما ترك على ظهرها من دابة ولكن يؤخرهم إلى أجل مسمى. If Allah held people responsible for their dhulm, for what they do, He wouldn't leave on the face of the earth a single human being. But He gives them respite. That ayah said, for their dhulm. There's a similar ayah, repetition. وَلَوْ يُؤَاخِذُ اللَّهُ النَّاسِ بِمَا كَسَبُوا مَا تَرَكَ عَلَى ظَهْرِهَا مِنْ دَابَّةٍ. If Allah were to hold people accountable for what they did, He wouldn't leave a single person, not one. Why? Because He told us to do some things that we're not doing, and He told us not to do certain things that we're doing. So if Allah were to hold everybody accountable, He wouldn't leave anybody on the earth. But Allah is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Ghafur, Al-Latif. He's an afu, and He loves an afu. So I'm not saying you can't make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. It's nature, human beings. You're not perfect. Our father, Adam, he was told, La taqrab hadhihi shajara. Don't go to this tree. Don't go to this tree. He went to the tree. He went to the tree. So he was expelled from Al-Jannah. And his children are like that after him. But when we make a mistake, we have to say, the mistake is from me. The taqsir is from me. I made the mistake. Don't say Allah, hashirullah. Don't say Allah made the mistake. Don't say the problem is with the deen. Be a real Muslim. And don't cherry pick. Be a real Muslim. And don't blame Allah. So let's deal with the ayat that we want to deal with, inshallah. The first ayat that we're going to use as the basis of the talk is the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu udkhulu fi silmi kaffatan wa la tattabi'u khutawat ash-shaytan innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. O you believe, enter into al-Islam wholeheartedly, and don't follow the footsteps of a shaitan. For verily shaitan is an open, clear, avowed enemy to you. The ayat is clear. Abdullah bin Mas'ud, one of the ulama of the Quran, from the companions, the Prophet told his companions, Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and those other awliya, Istaqri'ul Quran min arba. Learn the Quran from 4 of my companions. One of them was Abdullah bin Mas'ud. Abdullah bin Mas'ud told the people, anytime you see or hear the ayat, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, after Allah says that, Allah is going to tell you something that you have to do, or warn you and prohibit you from something that will harm you. In this case, He's telling us, enter into al-Islam wholeheartedly, all together. And don't follow the footsteps of the shaitan, because shaitan is a clear, open enemy to you. Now, it's the first part of the ayat I want to talk about, but I would be remiss if I didn't say something about the second part very quickly, especially for you young people, but for everybody. Don't follow the footsteps of a shaitan because he's a clear enemy. You know, knowing who your enemy is a ni'mah, because there's some of us, we don't know who our enemy is. You know, like some of these politicians. One of the benefits of this problem in Palestine and Gaza, one of the benefits, you know, these people say there's a silver lining in every cloud. Asa takra'u shay'an wa huwa khayrun lakum. It may be that you hate something and it's better for you. One of the things that this thing has done, it opened the eyes of the Muslims as to who our friends are and who our friends aren't. Because these people treat us and look at us as second-class citizens. I'm telling you. I don't want to get all political here, but come on, man. You were telling the people, telling Muslims, we have to be nice to women. And you're right. Because a lot of times women are oppressed by Muslims, not by our religion. You were telling us about the rights of children, and you're right. Because a lot of times children are oppressed. In the UK, in 2023, there are Muslims right now still forcing their daughters to get married to their cousins. In 2023. That's the Khaluf. 2023, this is still happening. But we see people being bombed, women and children in hospitals. And now you're shifting the goalposts. It should be clear for Muslims. When you choose your politicians, we should choose the politicians not because he's a Republican or a Democrat, but because he has principles and he's going to work for us. But these people, they say, I don't care what happened. I'm going to be with these people, Israel. I'm going to be with the Dhul. I'm going to be with them no matter what you think. And in the UK, the Muslims have political power. I tell you no lie. The constituents who put some of these people into office, Muslims are the ones who tilt the scale by Allah's permission. So I say, hey, you better make these people do what we want to do, our bidding. Now, I don't want to get too deep and heavy, but listen, this is what I'm telling you right now. If you know who your enemy is, you. Now, I'm not talking about kuffar only. I'm talking about Muslims as well. It's a ni'mah. Rasulullah used to make a dua. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khiyana finnaha bi's al-bikana. I seek refuge in you from treachery, because it is a terrible thing that somebody stabs you in your back, someone who you trust. And if anyone here has dealt with someone who stabbed them in the back, you know what I'm talking about. The Arabs say in their poetry, the sword of the enemy hurts. When he cuts you, it hurts. But the sword of your brother, when he hits you, it hurts more. It's the same wound. It is the same wound. But you didn't expect it from him. You didn't expect it from her. He used to make dua. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min khalil makir. عينه تراني وقلبه يرعاني إذا رأى حسنة دفنها وإذا رأى سيئة أذاعها. I seek refuge in you from a Khalil, a friend who is treacherous. His eyes look at me and I think he likes me, but his heart in reality is against me. If I get into a car accident, he's happy. If I get a divorce, he's happy. If my wife loses the baby, he's happy. If my child doesn't get accepted in university, he's happy. You better know who your enemy is. And you young brothers, Jabril, and you young brothers who are in this audience, people who you hang out with, who encourage you to do crazy things, that is not your friend. The friend is the one who's going to help you to be a better person. But let's get back to the ayah. Enter into al-Islam wholeheartedly. Now I want to share with you a few ayat that I think is important for us to look into so that we don't fall into this, so that we're aware of the importance of not cherry picking. We have to pray 5 times a day. We have to. We have to pray Salatul Fajr. We have to. It's something we have to do. It's something you have to do. It's not a thing where you have a choice. It's something you have to do. Not only do you have to do it, but it is the alzam, al-lazimat. It is the most important action on the face of the earth that you can do with your body. There's nothing that trumps praying other than your aqidah, which is in your heart. There's no action you can do better than prayer. The Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as-salat khayrul mawdu'. The prayer is the best thing you can do. No one here did anything today better than praying. No one did anything better than praying. It trumps jihad, birru walidain, as-sidq, as-sadaqa, al-adhan, all of that. But you take your finger off of the blood. Why? Because everybody here knows people who don't pray. Everybody here knows people who don't pray. Everybody here. And parents, the mother prays, the father doesn't. The father prays, the mother doesn't. The mother and the father prays, the kids don't. Kid is 16, 17, 18, don't pray. This is our ummah. Abandoning salah is an action of kufr. And I don't see it the way some scholars in Islam said, if you don't pray, you are kafir outside of the religion. One of the reasons why I don't accept that point of view is we would be making takfir of the majority of our ummah. The majority. I say, wallahi billahi tallahi, there's not a single person here except he knows not someone, but people who don't pray. I don't make takfir of them just because you don't pray. So that's cherry picking. I choose to pray this prayer, but I won't pray that one. I choose to leave them all. I pray in Ramadan. No, that's cherry picking. You have to wear hijab. You have to pray. You have to leave your beard. For an example, I'm not beating no one up. I'm sitting in front of you. You're sitting in front of me. Rasulullah said, al-mu'min mir'atul mu'min. We are mirrors to one another. I'm a reflection for you. You're a reflection for me. I'm like you. You're like me. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. So don't sit there if you don't have a beard and think I'm not choosing you for that. I'm not choosing you for that. Be bigger than that. It's just a reminder. So we can't cherry pick. I want to share with you the first ayah, Ikhwani, and I think this is really important. It's all important. First ayah is what Allah described some of the kuffar with and munafiqeen, the hypocrites. The hypocrites, they're the ones who cherry pick. Allah said, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى حَرْفٍ إِنْ أَصَابُوا خَيْرٍ أَطْمَأَنَّ بِهِ وَإِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ فِتْنَةٌ انقلب على وجهه خسر الدنيا والآخرة ذلك هو الخسران المبين. From the people, those people who, if good comes, they worship Allah on the edge. If good comes to them, they're happy. If fitna comes to them, they turn back on their heels. They turn on their faces and they lose the dunya and the akhirah. And that's the true loss. They worship Allah on the edge. The first meaning of this, pay attention, man, pay attention, is secondary. The secondary meaning is there are those people worship Allah, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they are doing. Like the kuffar of Quraysh. Allah said about them, وَمَا كَانَ صَلَاتُهُمْ عِنْدَ الْبَيْتِ إِلَّا مُكَاءً وَتَصْدِيًا. Kuffar of Quraysh used to make tawaf around the Kaaba. Allah said they were doing nothing but clapping and whistling because they were making shirk with Allah. They got all those idols. Yeah, this is the house of Allah. This is the Kaaba that Ibrahim and Ismail built the Qawaid in. This is that. But you're making shirk. This is the secondary meaning. It's my mother, my relatives who are Christians. You know, as an African American, we grew up in the church. And we saw our mothers used to catch the Holy Ghost. I don't know if you people know what that is, but they be in the church going off, shaking, they get on the floor and they compete with each other. So if your mother caught the Holy Ghost, my mother has to compete with her and catch a bigger Holy Ghost. And then the other lady, and we used to plead with our mother and say, Ma, don't catch the Holy Ghost today, Ma, please. Why? Because on Monday, I'm going to get suspended. Because my friends who went to church are going to say, your mother caught the Holy Ghost. And I'm going to say, bam! I'm going to punch them. Boom! because my mother embarrassed me. It was an embarrassment. What my mother was doing was nothing but clapping and whistling. The best time for me in church was when they played music, because that made me feel good. But the preacher, I didn't know what he was talking about. I wasn't interested in that message. And just as it has happened to the Christians, if we Muslims are not careful, you get any man in the minbar and he's giving us hocus pocus hadith, and you give your people teachings that just khurafat, our children will leave this masjid if we're not giving them something they can relate to in 2023. This kid's not trying to hear no hocus pocus stories. So that's the first meaning. People worship and they don't know what they're doing. But the primary meaning is this: from the people of those people who worship Allah on the edge. If something good happens, they're happy. If something bad happens, they're upset. So the man would come into Islam. And when he came into Islam, if the rain came down and his vegetation came forward and produced, he said, yes, Islam is beautiful. If his animals gave birth to babies, he said, yes, Islam is beautiful. Especially if his wife gave babies that were boys. He said, yes, Islam is beautiful. If something positive happened after embracing Islam, he said, yes. But if something happened that was negative, a fitna, there was a drought, he would say, what kind of religion is this? What kind of religion is this? And what's going on in Palestine? We don't have the ability, Allahu Alam, to really appreciate what's going on in Palestine. I saw a Palestinian man. His daughter had to be 8, 9 years old. Rigor mortis was setting in, because you can see her fingers were like this and her limbs were kind of straight. And he had a big beard, and he had like his thing tied like the Yemenis people. And the people were standing there waiting for him to put his daughter there so they could cover her up. And the man was holding his baby and he was smiling, talking to his baby. And then he opened her eye and kissed her in the eye. Allah, at the beginning of this fitna, that really, really, really affected me. And that's because I know the importance of the eye to the Arab. You know, you call your wife Yarayuni, you call your little baby that. Yarayuni, the ain is the eye. Prophet Muhammad said, Man faqada habibatehi thumma sabar falahu al-jannah. He said, you patient after losing your eyesight, you go to Jannah. He called your eyesight the habibatain. When I saw that, it became close to me. I can't imagine it happening to my kids. A'udhu billah. Is it permissible for that man to give up hope and say, why? Why, Allah? I'm leaving the religion. No, because he knows. La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. No one is burdened beyond his ability. Allah doesn't burden you beyond your ability. You have the ability to handle it. So I know many people, when something happens to them, as soon as the winds of adversity blow, they lose their job. COVID comes. Something happens. He stops praying, stops fasting, stops practicing, cut off his beard. He goes back to how he was. No, man. Enter into Al-Islam wholeheartedly and be patient with the situation. Be patient with what happened, because you're not the only one who's been affected with that. In the audience right now is a brother whose daughter is a test for him. There are all kind of people have tests. You don't have a monopoly on tests. Don't be like that. Stick to your religion. Be a real Muslim. He starts hanging out with kuffar. ذَلِكَ هُوَ خُسْرَانٌ مُبِينٌ. There's a similar ayah. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ فَإِذَا أُوذِيَ فِي اللَّهِ جَعَلَ فِتْنَةَ النَّاسِ كَعَذَابِ اللَّهِ. From the people of those people who say, I believe in Allah, but as soon as he's getting problems from people, he makes the fitna that the people get, he makes that like Allah is punishing him. I've seen it too many times. So we got to move on, because we got to get to other ayat. There's no one sitting here other than these little itty bitty shabab. These little kids. Our little mujahideen wa mujahidat. These little babies. All they're worrying about is eating, sleeping, dressing, PlayStation, things like that. We have to worry about paying bills. We have to worry about our mental health. We have to worry about serious issues. And everybody has them. Enter into Al-Islam wholeheartedly, man. I give you another really critical ayat from those 30. And it's something that is popular. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in the Quran concerning the Nabi of Islam sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا الرَّسُولُ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ أَفَإِنْ مَاتَ وَقُتِلَ انقَلَبْتُمْ عَلَى أَعْقَابِكُمْ وَمَنْ يَنْقَلِبْ عَلَى عَقِبَيْهِ فَلَنْ يَضُرَّ اللَّهَ شَيْئًا وَسَيَجْزِي اللَّهُ الشَّاكِرِينَ. Muhammad, you people, Muhammad is nothing but the messenger of Allah. Many messengers have come before him. He's not the first one. Many messengers. If he dies or he is killed, would you return on your heels? Would you apostate because he's not there anymore? Don't connect your religion with any human being. When the Rasul died, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Umar came to the masjid and was threatening people. Anybody who says he's dead, you're a munafiq, I'm going to kill you. They didn't know what to do. They knew all of those ayat that no one lives forever. Abu Bakr saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He pulled the thing off his face. He smelt him. He kissed him. He said, you smell and taste as sweet in death as you did in life. Allah won't cause you to die twice. He came out and told Umar, calm down, sit down. He wouldn't sit down. Abu Bakr got on that minbar. No one ever got on that minbar during Rasulullah's time. Nobody. And it goes to show the importance of optics. When you see something, it affects you more than just hearing it. When Allah told Musa, your people are worshiping the calf, Musa heard that. He believed that. But when he went down and he saw it, he threw the parchments on the ground. He heard it, but when he saw it, it affected him more. When Abu Bakr got on that minbar, on the second step, the people looked and they knew, this is serious. And then he stood there and he gave dawah to Allah, to Tawheed. Oh, you people, ya ayyuhan nas, man kana, whoever from amongst you was worshiping Muhammad is dead. He died. And whoever worships Allah, Allah is living and he doesn't die. Abu Umar was standing there, he said my legs started doing like this and they couldn't hold me up anymore. And that happens to people when you lose people. That's just how it is. And they loved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Don't make your religion connected to a human being. The brother marries a sister who was a Christian and she becomes a Muslim now. The marriage after, the honeymoon and everything, she thought it was a soulmate and all that stuff. It goes south. They get a divorce. And the sister takes off hijab. The sister leaves Islam because the dude ain't married to her anymore. Come on, sister. Come on now. Did you became a Muslim for him? Nothing wrong. You came into Islam because of him, his dawah. Like Sulaim and Abu Talha. He was a Kafir. He wanted to marry the Muslim lady. She said, nah, I don't want to marry you because you're a Kafir. But you're an intelligent man. No woman in her right mind will reject someone like you, Abu Talha. If you say La ilaha illallah, that'll be my mahar. She gave dawah to Allah, man. And that man, Islam, for that lady. But when he became a Muslim, he saw her akhlaq, he saw the community, he saw the masjid, he saw Rasulullah, he saw the community strengthened his religion. And his Islam became better. So you became a Muslim through her, because of her, but you became a Muslim for Allah. Before going to the next point, there are a group of brothers who claim a connection to the Sunnah and that they're the gatekeepers of the Jannah and the Sunnah. I'm telling you, for those who know, hear what I say. The ghulat, I call them. I'm telling you, when that sheikh dies, you're going to see the ajabul ujab. You're going to see some really madness. Why? Because if your religion is what a man, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. Respect personalities. Respect the sheikh. Respect the elders. But don't say, wherever the sheikh goes, that's what I share. But whatever the sheikh, no. Don't be like that. Don't be one of them people. Never be one of them people. Be a person who your religion is for Allah Azza wa Jalla. How much time for Maghrib? Is it me because I came from the UK and just came from New Jersey and Delaware, but it's hot in here right now? Is that just me? I have to get acclimated to this weather. Do you brothers mind if we turn on and the fans? Afwan. It's hot up in this chumpy. Fatah Allah alaikum, inshallah. Shukran. Appreciate it. So, Ikhwani, concerning the issue of what we are advising you with today and we're calling you here today, as you sit there and you evaluate, we evaluate ourselves. I told you, there's not a single person here except we struggle with things with our hawa. And that's why we have to look at those companions, because they were just like us. The Prophet said to Umar, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to the people, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين. None of you are real true believers until I become more beloved to him. You got to love me more than you love your father, your children, and all of the people. Umar was brave. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I love you more than everybody except myself. I love myself, Ya Rasulullah, but it's easy. I love you more than everybody. All my wives, my children, and everybody, but I don't love you more than myself. Rasulullah said, then you're not a true believer. Umar didn't say, well, give me some time to go reflect. He said, I love you more than myself now. All he had to do was hear that. That's the believer. Sami'na wa ata'na. Even if it didn't hit him yet, even if he didn't get his head around it yet, he's going to say it. And I want to say this. I want to say this especially to sisters who have to wear hijab and to you young people. I want my son and I want you young brothers. You may have a personality where you're quiet and you're introverted naturally. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing. I don't expect you to get up on the minbar and give the khutbah. I don't expect you to do that or to lead the salah because you're a quiet brother. But being quiet and introverted is one thing. You can still be a leader. You can still be a leader. You don't have to be one of those people, what everybody else does, I'm going to do it because they did it. A leader is the person says, nah, I'm not doing that. You guys can smoke cigarettes. I'm not trying that because you're doing it. I'm not cutting school because you're doing it. I'm not playing that dangerous game where I can get hit by a car because you're doing it. That's a leader, man. That is a leader. So when it comes to these kinds of issues, you listen to what I'm about to tell you. This is important. Even if you don't really want to do something, like you're embarrassed when you first put that hijab on, only Allah knows what that feels like to a Muslim woman. She's a revert. She puts that hijab on. A lot of women won't become Muslims because of the hijab. I tell my mother, Ma, just become a Muslim. I don't care about that hijab right now. You want to eat pork? That's that. I'm not talking about that, Ma. Just accept Islam and believe in Allah. We cross those other bridges when we get to them, inshallah. Your heart. If you do certain things and you keep doing those things, at the beginning, it may not be in your heart. But if you keep doing that thing, your limbs will have an effect and an impact on your heart. Yes, in Islam. Your limbs, you keep doing something, it will have an effect and an impact on your heart if you keep doing it, even if you don't want it. Like straightening up the lines when we pray. He said, straightening up the lines, if you don't do it, it'll make, your hearts different. If that girl keeps putting her hijab on, pretty soon the hijab is going to become a part of who she is. So she goes to get a job. The people say, yeah, you can work here, but we don't want you to wear that hijab. She's going to say, nah, I don't want this job. Because she can't see herself not wearing hijab. It's the shaitan who comes and makes wiswas and makes you think, I can't do this, and you don't try to do it. Same thing about the beard, same thing about everything in Islam. Everything. It's wiswas of shaitan. إِنَّمَا ذَلِكُمُ الشَّيْطَانِ يُخَوِّفُ أَوْلِيَاءَهُ. He makes people afraid by whispering to them, making you think that's going to happen. Usually it's not going to happen. It's the opposite. So you just keep doing it. The Prophet said, إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ بِالتَّعَلُّمِ وَإِنَّمَا الْحِلْمُ بِالتَّحَلُّمِ. Knowledge comes by going out and getting it. And becoming halim, soft and gentle, comes by making yourself do it. There was a man who Rasulullah saw him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said to that man, "Inna fika khaslatayn yuhibbuhum Allah." You have two qualities that Allah loves. Allah loves in a way that befits His Majesty. He doesn't love the way we love. Allah loves. And He loves these two qualities. The man said, what are they, Ya Rasulullah? He said, Al-Hilm wal-Anat. You are soft, gentle man. You are soft. Like the woman is Halima. We have children, we love our children, but very seldom will a man love his child like the mother. My daughter's upstairs, and I don't know, I'm sure she probably is screaming. She does this thing where she just screams out like that. Screams. Her mother just, yeah, no problem. When she screams and I'm tired, I tell my wife, can you get your baby, please? Not that I don't love my wife and my daughter, it's just that screaming gets into my central nervous system, make me more nervous. So if I was giving a talk, I couldn't concentrate. My wife, no matter what, like your mother, do the same thing. That's how that man was, gentle with the people, easy with his son. He wasn't a rough guy, rough imam, rough khatib, always rough. Every khutbah, everybody's going to hell. Everybody, all of you, except me. Real talk, man. There was an Imam Adh-Dhahabi brought a story of the man from the Khawarij. It was two of them going around the Kaaba in the month of Ramadan. One of them from the Khawarij, rough and tough. He said to his other Khariji friend, he said, look at all these Muslims, look at all these people. All of them going to hell. All of them, except you and me. Only you and I are in Jannah. He was shocked. Jannah? He said, only you and I are going to Jannah? He said, yes, just you and I. He said, no, you go. You can go to Jannah by yourself. I don't want to go. I don't want to go with you. And that is what taught him to get away from people who think like that. Think like that, man. Come on, brother. Don't that the hadith say, man qala halak al-nas fahuwa ahlakuhum. Huwa alladhi ahlakuhum. سبب في إهلاكهم or فهو أهلكم أهلك اسم التفضيل. He's more halik. Why? Because he's closing the door on people. Whoever said, the people no good. No good, no good. Look at Palestine, Hamas. What's wrong with you, man? There's an issue of kufr and iman. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Dealing with people like that. So the man falls over the boat. You know those big ships, those big cruise boats. He falls over, and you know you don't want to fall off those boats now. I watch programs like this on YouTube. You don't want to fall off those boats, because once you fall off, there's a whole science about how they're going to get you. The quicker they catch you, the more chances you have. Allahu A'lam, because they do a lot. But the more they get away, you are in trouble, man. You are in trouble. They can't in. If you ever see someone fall off the boat, don't run to get help. Tell somebody, go get help. And you got to keep looking. Because if that boat keeps going, you won't be able to identify them out there. Anyway, he falls off the boat. Help, help. And we all go, and one of us says, man, what are you doing over there for? How you fall off the boat? What are you over here by yourself, man? What's wrong with you? Man, today ain't Friday. Don't give me any khutbah today. Just throw the life ride. Help me right now. That's how some people argue. Giving me the khutbah, man, and I'm in the Pacific Ocean. I'm in the Atlantic Ocean. I'm not that kind of imam. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not that kind of person. But I will tell you what I think, and I call a spade a spade. Like, I'm going to tell you people here. What was Islam during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is Islam right now. And what wasn't Islam back then, it is not Islam right now. And this diversity that exists from us, amongst us, it is a recipe for success if we enter to Al-Islam wholeheartedly, collectively. So in concluding, this is Christmas. Christmas. You have to enter into Al-Islam wholeheartedly. You can't say Merry Christmas back. You can't say any of that stuff. You can't do anything connected to Christmas with our children. You can't do anything. No thing. And this is not me being rough and tough and mean and all. No. I have a mother, man. I'm in her house during this time of Christmas. My mother has a dog. She has a little dog, a French poodle. I hate the dog. I hate him. He gives me a headache. And now my daughter comes and she sees that dog. At first she was scared. Now my daughter is trying to get close to the dog. But my mother respects Islam and they put that dog in the room. My point here is, I'm not going to take that dog to the park and let him go. I'm not going to feed that dog poison and kill him. I'm not going to go into the living room and knock the Christmas tree over. I'm not going to go and break all of the pictures of my grandmother, my grandfather, and all of that. My family are going to say, you crazy, man. You lost your mind. What religion is this? I'm going to itfa billati as. I'm going to be with them. And I'm going to validate my presence with them. And I'm going to try to give them dawah. But there's a point where I have to say, lakum deenakum waliya deen. I have to do that. If I don't do that, I'm not a real Muslim. And we're going to talk more about this, inshallah, as the days go forward. I'm working. I can't sell Christmas cards. I can't do anything as a Muslim. As a Muslim, I can't do any of that. I can't do birthdays for my kid. I can't do birthdays for my kid. Because when I give my kid a birthday cake and tell him to blow out the candles, you have to know behind that is shirk and kufr. It's shirk and kufr. So I'm going to end here by saying, inshallah, if a man did all of the sins in the world and he came to Allah Azza wa Jal, not making shirk with Allah, Allah will eventually forgive him. He may go to the hellfire and he may not. It's up to Allah. In sha'a, ghafara lahu, in sha'a, adhaba. It's for Allah. The man killed 100 people. 100 people. LGBT, all of that. That is ghulu. That is i'tida. That is mujawazatul hadd. But it doesn't put you outside of the religion. Riba doesn't put you outside of the religion. The man killed his mother, his father, and 1,000 people in the hospital. That's a kabira from the kaba'ir. But it's up to Allah. It's up to Allah. And as the Prophet says, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, man qala la ilaha illallah nafa'athu yawmin min dahrihi. Whoever says la ilaha illallah, understanding what it means, is going to benefit him sooner or later. He may go to the hellfire, and he may not. That's up to Allah. No one has any dakhal in where he's going to go. No one except Allah. So how is it that I'm a Muslim and then I come and I'm mutahawan in issues that are shirk and kufr, like making a wish and blowing out on a candle? Blowing out on a candle. That's a rams. That Christmas tree is a rams. It's a rams of the people worship fire. Santa Claus is a jinn. I mean, not a jinn. The origin of that is a jinn. I lived in a place here on the East Coast. It was a very impoverished area. We were poor. We were poor. Now I'm the richest man in the world with Islam. Am I perfect? No. But I have the deen of Allah. I got the greatest ni'mah. May Allah cause us to die on al-Islam. I lived in the area we were poor. And they had us believing in Santa Claus. Santa Claus was an overweight Caucasian man riding around on reindeers. And he's going to come into my neighborhood in the projects. We didn't even have chimneys, man. We didn't even have chimneys, man. And then I'm telling you, last night, Christmas Eve, I woke up with my family at 3:30 today to catch the Uber to the airport to get there at 4:30. When I was young, we would get up 3:30 and we would tiptoe with heba, khaifin. We were nervous. We would walk to the living room and we saw toys under the tree. We couldn't believe it. It blew our minds. Whoa! Heba, man, like really. I'm telling you guys, Christmas had a bigger takfir in my heart as a child than Eid does now, since I've been a Muslim. I remember Christmas. Eid, I have to make it. Christmas was bigger as a child to me. And then we would go in the kitchen, and in the kitchen there was a glass with milk halfway and cookies broken up. We said Santa Claus was here. Santa Claus was here. And you know the worst thing about it? This is not funny. You know the worst thing about it? My parents, both of them worked hard. My mother worked from 4 to 8, 3 to 8. When we came home from school, she was leaving for work. And my father worked from the morning from 9 to 5. And they struggled with 4 children. And they bought gifts leading up to Christmas. Brought me a bike, my brother a bike, brought clothes, brought everything we wanted, for the most part, and kept that stuff hidden around the house. We didn't even see it. And then on the 24th night, we would come and see all of that stuff. And then my parents would say, Santa Claus brought that stuff. Who does that? Who does that? This is one of the reasons why one of the biggest sins in Islam is for a man to disconnect himself from his father. Your father gave you life. Your father gave you life, bi-idhnillah. And then you're going to turn around and say, the father will encourage you to say, another man gave you all of this ihsan. Who does that? Who does that? The one who does that is the one who turned the switch off. He clicked it off. So, inshallah, we do our best to try to sharpen up and try to be better in some of the things that we fall short on. And our tawfiq is only with Allah Azza wa Jal. So we're going to stop here. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. If you brothers have any questions about today's dars, what we mentioned about today, you can put your question forth, if that's okay with Brother Mahmoud. Just today's lesson. If you haven't. Fadl Abu Zayd. I got it. I think concerning the issues, like every other issue under the sun, we have to be in the middle. And the way to get in the middle is to get knowledge of the religion. The more knowledge a person has of his religion, the better he's able to navigate. The less knowledge that he has, the less capable he is of navigating correctly. He'll make the religion difficult for him. His understanding about things will be wrong and complicated, and it creates complications. So we have to stay in the middle with everything. So talking about the rats of what you're saying, following our fathers, there's a middle path of that. Afwan. Concerning our fathers, no one here should think we just discard what our fathers have to say and what are you talking about? Your father's a piece of you, and you're a piece of your father. You're a great debt of gratitude to your father and to your culture. The culture is mu'tabar in this religion. A person's culture can make something haram or halal or mustahab with conditions. So we're not telling people throw your culture away. We didn't tell people that. We're telling people you better honor your father. So you young brothers, Abu Hurairah saw a young man walking with another older man. He said, come here. The young man came, and I'm using the little bit of water as the boy. The father is all the water. Which one is more important, the water or the little bit of water? So I'm using him, he's the father. Abu Hurairah said to the young, come here. He said, what's the relationship of that man to you? He said, it's my father. He said, okay, listen to me. Never ever call him by his first name. Never ever sit down before he sits down. And never ever ever walk in front of him. He said, repeat that to me. He said, never call him by his first name. Never ever sit down before he sits down. And never eat before he eats. He wanted to make sure the boy understood what he said. That's your father, who the Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, none of you will be able to repay your father unless you found him as a slave and then you pay for his freedom. Nobody's going to find his father a slave. Nobody. As a revert, one of the reasons why your father has such a high degree and your mother, Birrul Walidain, is that they were the ones who gave you people Islam. You guys open up your eyes and you were Muslims. You were raised up and you're Muslims. Had you been like me and some of these kuffar who I grew up with, we were not Muslims. Why is it they don't come to Islam? They don't come to Islam. Allah bless me, I came to Islam. You guys didn't have to make that choice. Your mother and your fathers gave you as a hadiyah, al-Islam. And then you're going to come and talk to him in that crazy way? Come on, man. Right now, 2024, right now. One of the biggest fitnas we have as parents is our children don't appreciate us. The child doesn't appreciate his parents today. My wife will iron, cook, clean, put the plate, set them up, and everything. They'll come and they'll eat. Before she comes to sit down, get up and won't say, thank you, Ma. Thank you, Ummi. That's our children. One of them will call you from upstairs and say, hey, Ma, is the food done yet? And he's upstairs. And all he has to do, Shaikh, welcome, Shaikh. It's good to see you, wallahi. I saw International Drive, and I thought about you. That's what we're dealing with, man. It wasn't like that when we were young with our mothers and fathers. There's a new generation, man. Wallahi, tallahi, billahi. The khuruj of a Dajjal is close. Yawmul Qiyam is close. The dua of the Nabi, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min waladin yakun rabban alayya. I seek refuge in you from a child who becomes my Lord. My child is my Rabb. And the hadith of Jibril, what are the signs of the hour? He said, and tara and talit an amatu rabbataha, that the slave girl would give birth to her master. Tanqalab and mawazin. The father becomes the son, and the son becomes the father. When I was young, and this is the last question, when I was young, the white people, black people didn't do this. Black parents would deal with you. But the white parents would say, Johnny, get in timeout. Go to timeout, Johnny, get in timeout. Today, Johnny will say, hey, Ma, go to timeout, Ma. Johnny is telling his mother, you go to timeout. I'm going to call the police on you. That's what we're dealing with. Children of Arabs, man. Listen. The Prophet told the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, la yusabbanna ahadakum abah. None of you should curse his father. They what? Ya Rasulullah, we don't do that. Who does that? He said, I don't mean that. What I mean is you curse a man's father and then he curses your father. Because you curse his father and he cursed your father. The Arabs, Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl and Umayyad bin Khalif, they have respect for their fathers. Come on, man. So there's no way in the world I'm saying we throw everything about our fathers out the window. No. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, when what our fathers and our culture goes against what Allah and His Messenger say, then with all due respect, we don't obey them. Why would Ibrahim say to his father all the time, Ya Abati, Ya Abati, with respect, man? These kids have no respect. And I like to say this, and I close with this. If I'm the imam of this masjid and there was a kid in this masjid, I don't care, teenager, college, whatever, and that kid was being bullied in school, I want that kid to come to me and pull me to the side and say, I'm Uncle Abu Usaamah. You know, these guys are bullying me. The teacher's bullying me. I'm going to go to the school on behalf of that child. I'm going to go to the school. Not like an ignited fire, not like an acid, but this boy is, behind. He's behind. But at the same time, I'm going to say to these kids in this masjid as well, you boys, people, girls better get yourselves together as it relates to respecting your parents. They don't even say thank you anymore. Kids don't say thank you to their parents. Not even jazakallahu khairan. They don't say thank you. There's no i'tiraf. And they grow up with, what do you call it again? Privilege. Like I'm African American. I don't want any white person thinking he's privileged over me. I'm going to sit in the front. If I come to the classroom, hey, I'm no second-class citizen. But I also teach my kids, you're not privileged every time they go to the store. Buy me this, buy me that. And if you don't get it for them, they look at you like you did something wrong. That's how they feel. Privilege. I deserve it. But we have a lot to do with it because we brought them here, because we exposed them. Some things they're exposed to, we don't do anything to undo it. We don't do anything to make ishraf over what they're seeing and who they're with. So it's a tough situation. So we just have to be in the middle in all things. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. But before we close out, I have one question from the people of those people who worship Allah on the edge. That has two meanings, a primary meaning and a secondary meaning. Who knows the secondary meaning? What does it mean? That they worship Allah on the edge. Who knows? Jibril. No. What's your name, son? Alex. Where you from originally? You're a Puerto Rican. You speak Spanish. Like the Spaniards. Okay, man. I know all the curse words in Spanish. That's it, bro. Almost time. What is worshiping Allah on the edge? Secondary. Ooh. That's the primary meaning. My man, what's your name? Rasul. Rasul what? Hamid. Where you from originally? Where? Florida. Alhamdulillah. Rasul Amin. As long as you didn't say Rasulullah. Rasul Amin. How old are you? You married? If you get a son, your first son, what you gonna call him? Muhammad. I'm gonna call you Abu Muhammad from now on, inshallah. What is the secondary meaning, Abu Muhammad, of the one who worship Allah on the edge? I keep it real all the time. Keep it real with me all the time. Abu Muhammad. Who else is out there from these Shabab? Little man in the green with the Moroccan though, mashallah. You look like you are a smart kid. What's your name? Imran. I don't know if you were here when we talked about the verse from the people there, those who worship Allah on the edge. Were you here when we mentioned that? The primary meaning is when good things happen, they're happy with Islam, they're happy with Allah. When bad things, they're upset. What's the secondary meaning? I gave the example of my mother and my aunties. How about you, my brother? What's your name? Abdurrahman. What's the answer, Abudi? You guys got that in this message. You got that down. I'm going to be real with you. Now, I don't want you guys thinking by saying I'll be real with you, you get a pass, man. Because that's gonna get stale after a while. I'm gonna be real with you. But keep it real, baby. Keep it real. That's part of it. Anybody know? A person who worships and he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know why his kid is doing birthday. He doesn't know why. If you ask him, why are you doing that? He doesn't know. He can't understand why that's a problem. How that goes against his religion. And it's wajib for him to leave it. And we're going to talk about that later. And he'll get mad at you. The motive. He can't understand what you're talking about. You don't love Rasulullah. You don't love him. You don't love him. That's the secondary meaning. I just gave you that question because I don't want to come here and talk to you guys and my dome is morphing. I can actually hear Usaamah going whoop, 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 whoop. And then you just sitting here. I want you guys to pay attention and do what this brother did. But little by little, you know? All right, everyone. We're going to take a break now, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.